not to sound so sinister. I mean, not to sound so sinister, but if you were about to partake of your last meal on Earth, what would you ask for? These condemned inmates sure asked for some pretty weird chow before their execution. Today, we've cooked up the 15 strangest last meal requests on death row. What's up, Factnetics? This is Discovery Amuse, serving up your daily dose of the most outrageous, outlandish, and out-of-this-world fun facts. Our number one pick had a request so strange, no one in his right mind would eat it. Let's dig in. Number 15. Olive Twist. In 1960, Victor Figur kidnapped and brutally killed a physician, then threw the victim's body in a cornfield. At 28, he was convicted of murder and was sentenced to death by hanging. His request was pretty odd for a last meal. A single olive with the pit still inside. Nope, he's not a level 5 vegan, as you're about to find out. After Figur's execution in March 1963, authorities found the pit inside his suit pocket. Figur apparently told the guards that he hoped an olive tree would sprout from his grave as a sign of peace. Ooh, interesting. If you thought that was cheesy, our number one entry will leave you gagging. Number 14. Finger Lickin' Good. From 1972 to 1978, John Wayne Gacy, aka the Killer Clown, assaulted and murdered at least 33 boys while dressed as a clown. The real-life Pennywise buried 26 of his victims in his home. 3 others were 6 feet under elsewhere on his property, while 4 were thrown in a river. See, this is why I'm deathly afraid of clowns. Before Gacy's execution in 1994, his last order was a dozen fried shrimp, french fries, a pound of strawberry, Diet Coke, and a bucket of original recipe KFC. Turns out, Gacy was a former KFC branch manager in Waterloo, Iowa, and he wanted some finger-licking goodness one last time. Number 13. Saving room for dessert. In March 1981, Ricky Ray Rector shot a police officer dead in his house and was eventually sentenced to death. For his last meal, Rector's request was pretty decent. Steak, fried chicken, cherry Kool-Aid, and a slice of pecan pie. Nothing unusual about that, except for the fact that he did not eat his dessert. When the corrections officer asked why, he simply said, "I'm saving it for later." Here's the kicker. The authorities didn't dispose of the pecan pie until Rector had finally been executed by lethal injection. Did Rector expect to be resurrected or something? What am I missing here? Number 12. Prison Gourmet Break. Now here's a man with expensive taste, Robert Dale Conklin. His special request was so fancy it deserved a Michelin star. Filet mignon wrapped in bacon, deveined shrimp sautéed in garlic, butter, and lemon, baked potato with butter, sour cream, chives, and real bacon bits, corn on the cob, asparagus with hollandaise sauce, French bread with butter, goat cheese, cantaloupe, apple pie with vanilla bean ice cream, and for drinks, just a glass of good old iced tea. Ever wonder how a connoisseur like Conklin ended up behind bars in the first place? Well, he murdered his lover using a screwdriver, butchered him, then hid his dismembered body in several trash bags. He's not so classy after all. Number 11. My precious last meal. Ronnie Lee Gardner's was definitely one for the books. After he shot and killed a man during a robbery in 1984, he was set to be executed by a firing squad in 2010. His last meal request was pretty standard fare. Steak, lobster tail, apple pie with vanilla ice cream, and 7-Up. Everything seemed normal except for the fact that he wanted to have them while watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy and reading Divine Justice. Surprisingly, the state allowed it, and Gardner's precious final meal lasted for about 11 hours. He sure took his sweet time. At least he didn't have to pay the late fee on the movie. Number 10. Just Brew It. From 1989 to 1990, serial killer Eileen Wuornos murdered 7 men and was sentenced to death by lethal injection in October 2002. Fun fact, her life story was turned into a Hollywood movie called Monster, for which Charlize Theron won a Best Actress Oscar. BT dubs, not a comedy, and not a date movie. Anyway, before her execution, Wuornos had one simple request for her last meal: a cup of joe. It was a bitter end for the prostitute, who maintained that she committed the homicides in self-defense. The caffeine must have kept her up as she journeyed to the other side. Number 9. Poor decisions. Nazi senior officer Adolf Eichmann was sentenced to death by hanging in 1962 after he was found guilty of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. Serves him right for being one of the major organizers of the Holocaust. Ironically, before his execution, one of his requests included a bottle of Carmel, an Israeli brand of red wine. Needless to say, no one toasted his dry sense of humor. Number 8. Another one bites the crust. Philip Workman was sentenced to death by lethal injection in 1982 for murdering a police officer. His trial was controversial due to the lack of strong evidence and even had his execution date moved twice after courts intervened. However, on May 9, 2007, his death penalty was finally served. For his last meal, Workman asked that a large vegetarian pizza be given to a homeless person. Prison officials denied his request, and as an act of defiance, Workman refused to eat anything. On the day of his execution, people who were moved by Workman's request sent massive amounts of pizza to homeless shelters across Tennessee. Up until his last breath, Workman delivered one last good deed. Number 7. Supersize Me. This former butcher in Mississippi sure had one big appetite. Before his execution for rape and murder, Gary Carl Simmons requested a feast that could practically feed an entire cell block. His order included one Pizza Hut medium supreme deep dish with double mushrooms, double onions, double jalapeno peppers, and double pepperoni, and another pizza with 3 cheeses, olives, bell peppers, tomatoes, garlic, and Italian sausage. But wait, he wasn't done yet. He also asked for 10 packs of 8 ounces each of Parmesan cheese and ranch dressing, 8 ounces of jalapeno nacho cheese, 4 ounces of sliced jalapenos, 2 big bottles of cherry Coke, 2 large strawberry shakes, 2 pints of strawberry ice cream, and 1 family-sized bag of nacho cheese-flavored Doritos. Phew, that's worth at least 29,000 calories. Simmons only got to finish half of his request, so no, he didn't die of a food coma. Number 6. Amen to that. For Roger Casement, it was never too late to ask for salvation, even during his last meal. As an Irish nationalist involved in separatist movements, Roger was convicted of high treason and was sentenced to death by hanging in 1916. On the day of his execution, he converted to Catholicism and had his first Holy Communion. Yep, his last meal was the body of Christ. He then spent his remaining days on earth praying together with 2 priests who stayed by his side. Number 5. Moms know best. On September 9, 1998, Delbert Teague Jr. was scheduled to be executed 3 years after being convicted of robbery and murder. He apparently didn't want to eat anything before his execution, but his mother reportedly marched into the prison and demanded that her son eat something. Because, we'll always be Mama's little baby. Finally, Teague obliged and ate a cheeseburger. Guess his mom just wanted to make sure her son wouldn't leave this world on an empty stomach. Number 4. Hasta la vista, baby. Double murderer Thomas J. Grasso was very particular about his last meal request. Before his execution on March 20, 1995, Grasso specifically ordered 2 dozen steamed mussels, 2 dozen steamed clams, a double cheeseburger from Burger King, a half dozen barbecued spare ribs, 2 strawberry milkshakes, 1/2 of a pumpkin pie with whipped cream, diced strawberries, and a can of SpaghettiOs. When the food arrived, much to his dismay, Grasso was given spaghetti with meatballs instead of SpaghettiOs. Yuck! He was so frustrated that he didn't mince words when he was interviewed one last time. His famous last words, and I quote, "I did not get my SpaghettiOs, I got the spaghetti. I wanted the press to know this." Number 3. Mr. Congeniality. Odell Barnes Jr. was convicted in 1989 for murder, but his guilty verdict gained international media attention after human rights groups and anti-death penalty advocates questioned the forensic evidence and the credibility of some of the witnesses. Despite the protests, his execution still pushed through on March 1, 2000. When asked what he would like for his last meal, Barnes requested, wait for it, justice, equality, and world peace. Perhaps he's running for governor in the afterlife. Number 2. Tough nut to crack. White supremacist and convicted killer Lawrence Russell Brewer was one of the 3 men responsible for the racially charged murder of James Byrd Jr. in 1998. He was sentenced to death by lethal injection in Texas in 2011. For his final meal, Brewer wanted to stir the pot one last time by ordering a feast for a king and a whole kingdom. He ordered 2 fried chicken steaks with gravy and onion, a triple meat bacon cheeseburger with complete sides, a cheese omelet with ground beef, tomatoes, onions, bell peppers, and jalapenos, 3 fajitas with all the toppings, meat feast pizza, a bowl of fried okra with ketchup, and a pound of barbecue meat with a half a loaf of white bread. For drinks, he asked for 3 root beers, and for dessert, he requested peanut butter fudge with crushed peanuts and a pint of Bluebell ice cream. On the day of his execution, the state delivered all his demands, but you know what Brewer did? He refused to eat anything, saying he wasn't hungry. It sure left a sour taste in the prison guards' mouths, so they reportedly threw all the food in the trash. Since then, all special meal requests for death row inmates in Texas have been banned. Talk about leaving a legacy. We're finally down to our number one pick, but before that, make sure to smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to choose all so you won't miss out on any of our latest life-changing, boredom-busting content. And of course, be sure to turn on notifications in your app settings. Number 1, eat dirt. James Edward Smith shot a man to death while robbing the International Trade Center building in Houston. In 1990, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. But he was more than meets the eye. Apparently, Smith was into black magic, voodoo, and witchcraft. He claimed to have participated in 6 ritualistic killings and talked about throwing the corpse of a 1-year-old infant over a bridge as a human sacrifice. For his final meal, the eccentric convict just wanted one thing: a lump of soil. I kid you not. In fact, he specifically asked for Ryokunda dirt, a type of soil associated with voodoo rituals. Smith said he would use it to mark his body so that his spirit would move on and not become a ghost. But obviously, dirt wasn't on the penitentiary's menu, so instead they gave him a healthier and equally vegan option: yogurt. You gotta be kidding me! Unfortunately, the prison guards weren't. So, have you decided on what you will request for your last meal on Earth? Place your orders in the comments section below. Take home our exclusive gear by browsing our merch shelf or clicking the link in the video description. And while you're at it, take our quiz to find out how you can earn extra cash online doing what you do best. Awesome, right? And if strange facts are your cup of tea, then make sure to check out our list of prison escapes that went horribly wrong. Till then, stay healthy, Factnatics, and see you in the next video.